Today I want to discuss for my final speech in communication class is the enticement of sin, the consequences of it, and the benefits of staying away from it. In Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, a 911 caller tells the operator that he just shot two people that broke into his home that day. One of them is still talking, but he cannot be understood, is what the caller states to the 911 operator. This recording was released Wednesday. I believe one of them is shot really bad and needs an ambulance, is what the caller states to the 911 operator. The man speaks calmly, but in a soft voice, as the operator assesses the situation and what is going on. This scene unfolded Monday afternoon near Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, after three young teenage boys, police stated, tried to break into the home of Mr. Peters in Wagoner County. The resident fatally shot those three suspects, authorities stated. The burglars broke in through the back door of Mr. Peters' home. The man on the phone, identified as Mr. Peters, states that he shot those three boys with an AR-15. One is in the kitchen, and the other crawled into the bedroom. A third person fled through the door. I didn't shoot him, is what Mr. Peters stated. But when authorities arrived at the scene, they saw the third body of that young teenage boy laying in the pavement driveway. The shooter says that he was in the bedroom in the back and the door was locked. As the 911 operator spoke to Mr. Peters, the operator insisted and told Mr. Peters that he needs to put the gun away when authorities get there. Mr. Peters states that the gun is on the bed. This is the scene that played out in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, as the caller describes shooting these three young teenage boys that day. As I was listening to this news story when it first broke out, I was startled at the story. I was very startled that not only was it three young boys that entered into the house to rob that man, but that they all that day lost their lives. As I listened to the story, I started to ponder a scripture that I had recently read in the book of Proverbs. And it states in the book of Proverbs, the very scripture that came to mind. Verse 8, "My child, listen when your father corrects you. Don't neglect your mother's instructions. What you learn from them will crown you with grace and be a chain of honor around your neck. My child, if sinners entice you, turn your back on them. They may say, 'Come and join us. Let's hide and kill someone. Let's do it for fun. Let's ambush the innocent. Let's swallow them alive like the grave. Let's swallow them whole like those who go down to the pit of death.' Think of the great things we'll get. We'll fill our houses with all the stuff we take. Come, throw your lot in with us. We'll share the loot. My child, don't go with them. Stay far away from their paths. They rush to commit evil deeds. They hurry to commit murder. If a bird sees a trap being set, it knows to stay away. But these people set an ambush for themselves. They are trying to get themselves killed. Such is the fate of all who are greedy for money. It robs them of their life. The love of money and the enticement of it that day, that fatal day, took away the lives of those 3 young boys. The consequences of robbing that man's home, entering into his house through the back door, as they went through that man's home, did not ponder one bit that it could have cost them their lives when they made that decision that day. When venturing into the scriptures even more, I decided to read Romans 6:23, and it states this: "The wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life." I too in my youth made many foolish decisions that, just like those young boys, could have cost me my life. Yes, when I thought about those decisions, they didn't seem quite dangerous to begin with. Those boys probably did not ponder that day that they would not make it out of that home alive. These are the things in which people should weigh before they go after the things that entice them. Many young people today are not weighing the cost of their decisions. Grandfather of one of the teenage boys who was fatally killed on that tragic day in March stated this: "What these 3 boys did was stupid. They knew that they could be punished for what they did, but they did not deserve to die." Jacob, Maxwell, and Jake's lives were forever changed that day. Mr. Peters, too, probably did not expect those men who walked into his home that night to be 3 teenage boys. That night, everyone's lives were changed because of the enticement of sin and the consequences that it cost those young boys. Because of their decisions and their actions, their families now have to go on with the memory of their young children's lives being ended and cut short because of a reckless decision, and going ahead and fulfilling that decision. Many young people today do not weigh the consequences of what such decisions can cost them. Probably what went through their minds is, if they get caught, the worst that can happen: prison sentence, detention center, juvie, probation, court appearances, but definitely not their lives that day. No one in this situation won. The families of these young boys' lives were ultimately changed forever. So in conclusion, the enticement of sin and the consequences of it outweighs greatly the benefits of what it will cost. That night it fatally caused many people anguish. The families of those young boys would have to know that their lives were cut short and that they can no longer go forward and pursue their dreams, goals, or possibly even have a family. Mr. Peters' life was also shaken that day. These are some of the consequences and the things that go into play because of the enticement of sin. Thank you.